DK's Hockey and Lacrosse is a full-line retailer specializing in hockey and lacrosse equipment and apparel. We carry every major brand at prices that can't be beat. DK's offers custom in-house embroidery, custom screen printing on jerseys, t-shirts, and other team apparel. We offer custom radius skate sharpening, skate repairs, and more. Customized gloves, pants, bags, goalie pads, and sticks with Warrior Custom Zone are also available. Jerseys, uniforms, gloves, and helmets are made to the highest standard. To get in the game, visit DK's Hockey and Lacrosse, 1 Pryor Road, Enfield, Connecticut, located at the Enfield Twin Rinks, or call us at 860-265-7790. You can also visit us online at dkhockey.com.
Everything you were looking for here. Staying in with the chats here, and Scott, looks like Scott Bellier. He also has a question now about NHL and AHL affiliations. Question is, how's it going with the current NHL team being so far away from Springfield? And do you think attendance would be better if we had an NHL team closer, either Boston or Hartford?
Well, you know, we've answered this question several times, and as independent owner operators, you don't get to pick and choose which NHL team you want to affiliate with. The Boston Bruins are in a long-term contract with Providence. The Rangers own their own franchise. The Islanders own their own franchise. New Jersey owns their own franchise. So you sort of say, okay, who do you want us to affiliate with? And really, we've covered this before, Damon, and it's a great question. I understand what people think. Would we draw better hypothetically if we were affiliated with the Boston Bruins? Absolutely. This is a big Bruins territory around here. Although for those old-time fans, the Boston Bruins were affiliated here in Springfield in 1980 or 81, somewhere in that area, and attendance was not very good. So you know, I think it really boils down to the team on the ice you have here. If we were a second-place team, would we draw on a lot better than we are now? We'd like to think so. But we are with Columbus, and Columbus has been good to work with. They have just had a miserable year. And as a result of them having a miserable year, there's been that trickle-down effect to us. And one thing Columbus has not done this year is had 2 or 3 guys sitting around in the press box. They've gone real thin up there, and as they are doing right now, going with only 6 defensemen. So they've been real good. There's other teams that will call up players and just sit them in the press box because they're allowed to carry a 23-man roster up there. And Columbus has not done that at all, maybe only once that I can think of this year. So they've been a good partner in the sense they communicate with us. They've tried to help us out. They've just had a horrible year, and it's hard for myself and for Charlie to accept that. But certainly that's the nature of our business, unfortunately. And we have to understand that they need players. But if they don't have any players, they're going to come to Springfield and call up a player. And you know, they never call up your worst player. They always call up your best player. That's the nature of the business we're in. So, you know, we've signed on with Columbus. We're going to make it work our hardest to make it work, and we'll go from there.
Continuing on, Bruce, with Travis Ritter. And Travis is, you know, it's getting late in the hockey season when free agency, potential free agency starts creeping in here. But with the weather being what it is, it feels like it's July 1st. Question here from Travis Ritter about Paul Dayton. He signed an AHL deal through this season. What are the thoughts of re-signing him for next year, and also players like Dane Byers as well? What's his contract status, and is he in the plans moving forward?
Well, it's a real early to start talking about who will be re-signed, but I can tell you this, that both players that are mentioned, Dane Byers, we love Dane Byers for all the right reasons. We're happy to get him back this year, and he showed that he's a serviceable player for Columbus. He's up there right now. I watched the game last night. He was in the lineup. He's killing penalties. So Dane was our captain here, and whether he's re-signed, that'll a lot of it be up to Dane as well. He's a unrestricted free agent, so he can certainly sign wherever he wants to sign. But he'll certainly be in discussions with Columbus on whether or not to bring Dane back. And we all love Dane, and you know, he's getting married to a wonderful girl in Ashley this summer. They're just great people. But time will tell what will play out there. As far as Paulie Dayton, is an interesting story. You know, he was signed to be our sort of fifth goaltender on the depth chart, if you will, and right now he's our #1 guy. So it shows you that when opportunity is there, it's nice to see young players seize that opportunity, and some of them do and some of them don't. And Paulie has seized the opportunity. He's just played some really good hockey games for us, And so he certainly is going to be in the mix again in discussions after the season's over.
We'll have plenty of time to talk about free agency. Once the playoffs are complete, that's pretty much all you do in June and July. So a lot of talk about that moving forward, but obviously I can speak with yourself that fans, staff, everyone would love both of those players back for sure. But continuing on the player side of things, and we're going to talk about unsung heroes. This question coming from Sheldon Douglas, and just talking about some of the unsung heroes on the team, Andrew Jodry being one that was mentioned here in the post. But just talking about maybe some of the guys that stand out that really...
Well, unsung hero, if I had to, I put myself in the spot here because I don't normally comment on individual players. Andre Jodry, just does everything well defensively, good centerman, good penalty killer. Not a guy who's going to put up big numbers for you, and we knew that going in. Quiet leader in his own right, and certainly a very good player for us. He's under contract again for next year. He's a player that sort of flies under the radar a little bit because he doesn't put up big numbers. He's not real flashy, but from a coaching perspective, he does a lot of the little things well. If I had to pick an unsung hero, probably right now it'd be, it might surprise some people, it'd be Brent Regner. Regs was really probably going to be a seventh defenseman for us this year, and ease him into the lineup once in a while, or depending on what the situations were. But my golly, he's just, when we lost Savard, and we didn't get Moore, and we didn't get Aaron Johnson, and we were struggling having puck-moving defensemen back there, Regs is he's just taking the ball and run with it. Again, he's not going to put up huge numbers, but he's one of the guys who can lug the puck out of our own zone. He's been good for us on the power play when he really wasn't supposed to be a power play guy for us. And I think Regs has really stepped up his game this year. He's been to me, probably one of the unsung heroes, I'll say, on our hockey club this year. A guy, and I look at an unsung hero as a guy who you really get so much more out of him than what you really expected when the season started. So right now, if I was choosing, not that I am, but if I was picking a guy, I just like what Brent Regner's done for our hockey club this year.
And leads us in games played. Been there. He and Marty St. Pierre, the top two guys in games played, but Regner obviously leading us in games played. And just to quickly follow up there, I mean, here's a guy last year that was actually playing some forward as well,
right,
just to be in the lineup. So I think probably one of the more respected guys in that locker room, too, just the way he handles
Well, players respect other players for the amount of work they do to get themselves into the lineup. And that's what Brent Regner did. He came into training camp. He knew his situation. He knew if everything, the way things would get aligned, that he was going to have to fight and battle to get his ice time. The same thing he did this year. But one thing about Regs last year, when he wasn't playing a lot, there was no sulking. He was in the weight room, played when he was given the opportunity, played his heart out every single night. Again, he'll fly under the radar a little bit because he's not going to put up great numbers, but he is a guy, to me, this year has stepped up and filled a big gap that we've needed due to the lack of an offensive defenseman, with Savard being up and, like I said, Johnny Moore and Aaron Johnson and sort of the rest of the guys sort of don't fit that bill, if you will.
Sure. Continuing on here with Thomas Hendrickson. The question here, and this is actually something we touched upon a little bit earlier as well, with the conversation you had with Cody Bass a couple days ago, just the overall attitude of the team. Are they optimistic just being 2 points out, or frustrated after the tough shootout loss on Sunday? I think you touched upon that a little bit.
Well, good athletes will be frustrated, they'll be mean, they'll be mad, they'll be upset after the game, but they'll put it out of their system and get ready for the next game. And I think that's what these guys are doing. They've had a good week of practice, a spirited week. This time of year, you sort of coaches cut down on the amount of time you're on the ice. You try to lighten things up a little bit. The season is long. You're playing 3-3 every single weekend, which has got to change next year for us. It's way too many 3-3s. And so it's a mental challenge as well for the guys. But I've talked to several of the guys, and I know you have, and I think the spirits are good. They realize where they are. They're right knocking on the door. Do we have enough to get through that door and put a little streak together remains to be seen. But it's nothing wrong with the attitude of these guys. You can see it because we went into last weekend in the same situation. We were banged up and uncertainty who could play and who we were going to have, and certain guys we weren't sure of. Yet we came out of the weekend with 3 points out of 6 and easily should have had 4. So we've got the same challenge in front of us this weekend as well.
Effort is no problem with this group for sure. But continuing on here, Bruce, Thomas Hendrickson, 2 more questions here, and we'll lump them together. One being David Savard and his status for the weekend, and also I think you touched upon it with McKelney as well, the goaltender there from Portland. his status and where he sits on the roster setup.
Well, David Savard, first of all, we're optimistic he's going to play this weekend. We need Big David back there. Just again, from a power play standpoint, I mean, you look at the other night, we didn't have David Savard, and we had a long power play against Wilkes-Barre, and we really couldn't get anything going. Your power play goes, for me, based on who you have on the blue line. If you have that quarterback on the blue line, that's what David Savard is, and we missed him certainly, but we're optimistic that he'll be back in the lineup this weekend. Today is Thursday. We'll know more today after practice. We're optimistic he'll be back in the lineup, which will be a big addition for us. And as far as Curtis McKelney, the goaltender, he wants to come back and try and play right near the end of the year. The medical reports I've received from our trainer, Tom, is that he might be cleared to play somewhere around the 1st of April. Now, that's what we're hearing right now. That's a couple weeks away yet, and cleared to play means really get back into practice and take shots and that kind of thing. So whether or not that will happen remains to be seen.
Well, as we finish up, Bruce, big weekend of hockey here. Obviously, the big home game on Friday night. Everyone is Irish night. You got the Portland Pirates coming in. Basically a playoff game. Also want to touch upon the merchandise side here just a little bit before we go. With the weather being what it is and the 75, it's going to be 80 degrees, I heard on Monday. Polo shirts, 25% off at the team store. 25%
off on polo shirts. Our T-shirts are, we've got the green T-shirts. We've got the T-shirts with the players' names on the back that have been flying off the shelves. Alicia had to put another order in 2 weeks ago to get some more in. So the merchandise is going well, and it's the big weekend, Damon. And I hope the fans come out tomorrow night to see this team play. As you said, it's like a playoff game. It'll be nice to see a good crowd here to come out and support the team as they're battling hard to get into the playoffs, and that's all we can ask the guys. Like I said, I'm not one to make excuses, but battled through a lot of adversity this year, and a lot of things behind the scenes that fans aren't aware of, certainly, but that's fine. The fans pay to see a performance and see this team win and compete, and I'm sure they're going to compete hard tomorrow night.
Absolutely. We're right there, and like we keep saying, if you said back in October you'd be 2 points out, it was this late in the season, I think we all would have taken that. Now just hopefully pushing forward, maybe next weekend we can continue that trend on another webisode.
Certainly hope so.
Awesome. Thanks, Bruce, as always. A lot of questions. I appreciate all your honest answers. And thank you out there for watching once again. Don't forget about the official FalconsAHL.com, the official Falcons social media streams, official Facebook, official Twitter. Appreciate all your comments. Appreciate you watching out there. You make these webisodes possible, and they're a lot of fun to do. Thank you to DK's Hockey and Lacrosse, 1 Prior Road down in Enfield, Connecticut, the Enfield Twin Rinks, for making these webisodes possible. Appreciate all you do. Thank you to Mike Mitchell with a marathon webisode today, standing behind the camera. I think I see his knees buckling right now. He's been standing for about 40 minutes, but we'll give him a break now. Thank you again for watching out there. We'll see you next week.